lighting people, if you're a lighting specifier, chances are you've been slowed down or perhaps even bogged down or inconvenienced occasionally by the way that architectural products people are trying to get your attention and earn specifications for the projects on which you work. And if you're an architectural products manufacturer or a lighting agency that represents them, you might also have been challenged in recent months during this pandemic as to how to best reach those lighting specifiers, how to best deliver value and not waste anyone's time, including your own. So we thought we would take a tiny step outside the lighting realm and into the realm of architectural products more generally. And we connected with Epiphany Studio, a marketing agency for architectural product manufacturers. And the agency helps companies grow by creating brands that specifiers are willing to fight for. So today we're pleased to welcome the principal of Epiphany Studio, Susan Milne, for 5 big questions. Susan, hello, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Susan, in the past, marketing, product management teams, and outside spec sales have collaborated to bring specification support to specifiers. How has the pandemic changed the way that those groups reach those specifiers now?
That's a great question. So really, when I think about marketing, whether you are an internal sales rep or support or an external sales rep out there meeting with specifiers every day, it's sort of 360 degrees, right? But now our outside sales reps can't really make that one-on-one connection. So we have to look at all the ways specifiers look for new products, what they need when they find them, and how can they get that. So obviously we think about that as in terms of inbound and outbound. We want to have our website be as rich and full with every single thing a specifier should need. But also we have to recognize that they all have Zoom fatigue. And our external reps now are sort of have their hands tied behind their back almost. So how can we help them through maybe some direct mail? Can we make sure samples get there on time? Are we adding anything to the samples? Are we gonna have a virtual lunch and learn where we can send a gift card ahead of time and the folks can enjoy lunch the way they used to? So I think it's really time that people got imaginative, but really look at that. There's 360 degrees. How are we going to cover every single one with marketing and outreach?
So with customers reaching those, with companies reaching those customers in various ways, what are some other ways in which we can truly make those connections from a product manufacturer standpoint to reach those specifiers?
Well, I think, Instagram stories certainly are doing really, really well. And I think that's a great platform. So looking at our social media and saying, how else can we connect? TikTok, absolutely fantastic. Sounds crazy, but we have the demographics for that, support that. Other things like having a really good BIM strategy. So you have Revit files. If I have those files, are they easy for me to access? Is all the information I need there? Can I download my spec sheet from there? Does it have the right links? So we want to look at our BIM strategy and make sure that's really tight because that's another place specifiers are. And they also are in places like Swatchbox and Material Bank. So we know in terms of lighting, a lot of the there's been a merging here of sound and light. And so we're using a lot of products that are traditionally used for acoustics, and we're bringing those into the design of lights. And to get those samples, designers use Material Bank or Swatchbox. So it's really important to meet them where they are.
For sure, yeah, one of the fastest growing sectors of architectural products are the acoustic products. So that's an interesting platform that maybe not every lighting person is aware of. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. And also the references to TikTok and Instagram. I think there's a certain way that people of different ages might receive those different messages. So how would you recommend reaching a specifier who was maybe born in the 60s or 70s to reaching a specifier who might be considered more of a younger professional?
Well, I think, we look at it, so we know that folks 40 and over, usually when they're thinking about material selection, they will start in the resource library. And we also know that millennials and Gen Z will start online and then validate their choices in the resource library and then reach out to a rep. So I think one of the things that we've seen from the pandemic is sort of the natural digital savvy education of a baby boomer has gone through the roof. They've had to. So we can still meet them online, although I would say things like, for the baby boomer generation, you know, try some LinkedIn stories. This is a brand new way. This is where this population is. It's a great new medium to reach them in. Facebook, more traditional, still someplace that they're going to be. And then really think again about, can I do a lunch and learn where I can send a sample to their house? So they're right there with me. I can't show them everything because that's normally what I do, but maybe I could just show them some of the finishes, something like that, because we think, you know, 40 and over, more tactile, need to see it, need to hold it. When we know about Gen Z, they have one of my favorite things, which is like an 8-second filter where they decide and they can store it all up here. So, you know, really try to hit everybody where they live.
Yeah, certainly a challenge, and the same approach doesn't work for every specifier, whether it's their discipline, their experience, their preferences, or their age group. So certainly some of those ways to communicate is filtered differently by the different age groups. When we talk about more of the things, and you mentioned a couple ideas earlier, but let's dig a little deeper into the outside specification salesperson. You had mentioned the virtual lunch and learn and a couple other ideas. What other ways do you suggest an outside spec salesperson to reach that specifier effectively?
Well, you know, I kind of break it down this way. You know, architects tend to be more introverted. And so what I'm seeing a lot of our sales reps doing, a lot of the independent reps that we know, they're going out and they're maybe having like coffee with somebody outside, one-on-one. So it's, first of all, really know your audience. Are they an introvert or an extrovert? And designers, those are my people. They are extroverts. And so what we're seeing is a lot of sort of trunk shows, literally going to a park, putting stuff out on tables, really being outside and having it be a group setting, maybe even serving some wine or having some kind of, you know, treat there. But really, you can do that more in a group setting with designers, of course, safely, you know, socially distanced. But I think it's really about knowing who your client is and what they're going to be comfortable with. And then do try to have some type of physical meeting if possible.
Yeah, that's part of the challenge, but you're right. Some of those different methods could work depending upon the person's, the specifier's threshold for and preferences for how they want to connect with the vendors. And when you consider the market, the macro sense, where the AIA market reports and other market reports tell us that religious buildings and hospitality and retail sectors are suffering a bit right now. What do you see as sectors that have promise for current business as well as short-term into the future?
We're seeing, you know, when I'm talking to multifamily developers, they haven't skipped a beat. This is still booming. They're booming ahead with projects. We have a housing shortage in America. And part of this whole notion of biophilic design is not just about the sound, but it's also about the light. How does the light fill a space? So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Residential, certainly, absolutely, going through the roof, that is amazing. And then of course, healthcare. And since all of these sectors look towards hospitality, we kind of know now how to sell to them. Yeah, hospitality is usually on the forefront. And then, you know, we see that translated even down to the healthcare setting. So ideas that work there, we're going to see in these sectors.
Very, very insightful. And yeah, the Zoom fatigue and all the other challenges you mentioned can be overcome by some of those insights and strategies that you just shared. So I'm going to tell you how the feedback is from my decisions to use some of these strategies, and maybe some of our audience as well. We'll snap you, we'll like your Instagram stories, and we'll send you some feedback in LinkedIn messaging and DMs so that we can all try to get more connected on these various platforms that allow us to reach customers in different ways. So Susan, what a pleasure it was to hear your insights outside of the small lighting realm and outside of the box for some of us as well. And I appreciate all the time you took to share those insights with us. So thank you for joining us for 5 Big Questions.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.